National desk because there's some breaking information coming in about this story with Brooke Bennett. She's the 12-year-old from Vermont who went missing yesterday, is still missing today. There's a search going on at a lake in Vermont, and now we've got new information. Tim, what do you know?
Yeah, we're still keeping an eye and staying on the phones about the search in Sunset Lake. They can't really tell us anything new about that.
Yeah.
And this is sort of more background on this story. Brooke's father, James Bennett, says that he helped Brooke create a MySpace page, and then he pulled the plug on it months ago when he found what he called inappropriate activity on there. It seems like a very responsible action to take for him. The 12-year-old then set up a new account, though, without her parents knowing. And let me assure you, folks, this happens all the time. So let's bring in our legal panel to talk about this a little bit. Jason Friedman is a former prosecutor. Ryan Smith is an entertainment attorney. And Peter Johnson Jr. is a Fox News legal analyst. It's just a scary story, Peter, for all parents when you look at this. I know lots of folks who don't think that their kids have MySpace accounts, and then it turns out, oh, they do, and they actually have friends on this list that people have no idea who they are.
Well, what's disturbing at this point is that this little girl has been missing since Wednesday morning at around 9 a.m., and the alarm bells didn't go off really until 12 hours later, till 9 o'clock at night, and she allegedly said that she was going to meet a friend to visit a sick relative in the hospital. Obviously, we've heard vigilance is absolutely essential, and at this point, I would believe that the local authorities would, in fact, have the people with whom she was communicating with on this particular account. But what happened here is, as you pointed out, the father shut it down because of a lack of respect, and she went and set up an account elsewhere, outside of the home. And that's the problem. How do we watch our children outside of the home?
Yeah, I mean, it's a whole separate existence. You know,
Absolutely.
If you go to a friend's house, log in and start another MySpace account, Ryan, you know, there's a very difficult way to keep your arms around this subject.
Right, and kids are doing this all the time, and I think the only way to really control this is to install that sense of moral and responsibility in your kids and say, you know, don't do these kinds of things. Here are some of the kinds of things that can happen. Parents really have to talk to their kids about this, because if there is that open line of communication, the kids will be communicating with the parents, and they'll be able to connect and figure out what's going on.
Yeah, Jason, you know, there's some frightening elements to this story, and that is that they say they think that they found some of the things that she either was wearing. There's a pink sweatshirt that's been discussed. We don't know exactly what they found near this lake, but that concerns me.
And even scarier here, you had an adult here. She didn't just go out and do this on her own. What was the uncle thinking? He drops her off, leaves her by herself, doesn't check to see who she's meeting, doesn't wait around to see that she's meeting up with a supposed friend to go visit this sick relative. You really have to look at the conduct of the uncle here as well.
Although I think it's a little bit early to be making statements like that. We have a missing girl. I don't think at this point we can be casting aspersions on an uncle who dropped off a 12-year-old girl at a convenience store. There's a lot of people that drop 12-year-old boys and girls off at convenience stores, confident that they're telling the truth about where they're going and what they're doing. I'm sure this guy is just, you know, consumed with guilt already.
That's still pretty poor judgment, though.
All right, let's tell you the tip line, because anybody who saw this, there's a surveillance tape of her walking away from this Cumberland Farm store. And please, please call the Vermont State Police if you have any information, if you saw anything around this scene, 802-234-9933. All right, and changing gears now to a totally different kind of story that we want to talk to our attorneys about today. Do you remember this lady? Trisha Walsh-Smith, the infamous divorcee, all over YouTube. She found a new way to air her dirty laundry by releasing a series of angry rants that were clicked on. This became a huge internet sensation. More than 4 million people watched it. Look at this.
How dare you? If this was the 16th century, what would you have done? Put me in the stocks and thrown rotten tomatoes at me? I am speaking my truth.
Oh, don't you wish you could hear more? She's speaking her truth. And now Walsh-Smith is taking her act to the courtroom, ladies and gentlemen. Ex-husband and Broadway producer Philip Smith is claiming spousal abuse for his ex-wife's angry antics. This one just goes on and on and on, Jason. I mean, she basically said, I feel like Betty Davis in this courtroom. You know, she went through all these different personalities. She said, well, that sounds like something I might say, when her husband's lawyer brought up the fact that she said that she would cut off a part of his anatomy and have it for breakfast.
Listen, emotion is a good thing in a courtroom if you're trying to present your case, but too much of a good thing can be a bad thing.
She's representing herself, by the way, am I right?
I think clearly she's going overboard here, and that can have a negative effect on the person who's listening to the case. In this case, it would be the judge.
Yeah, and if I'm the judge, Ryan, I'm thinking she's Lulu, and I'm believing pretty much everything the husband says at this point.
Exactly, and the judges had to clamp down on her more than a few times. She used to film these things in the apartment. He made her take it out of there. You know, this is not helping her, this kind of activity. And at first, maybe you're thinking, hey, I'm pleading my case in the public. Her original divorce lawyer thought that. But after a while, it just becomes too much.
And breakfast in bed can be charming under most circumstances, but not under the circumstances that you described.
Right.
You know, in my view, she kind of looks one of those Sex and the City characters about 20 years from now. That's what happens to the people who are depicted on that show 20 years from now. They wind up in videos like that.
Hey, so
not the actors.
Not
the actors.
Everything
That's
goes
the characters.
terribly wrong.
Fast forward. Fast forward. There we
ends
go.
up like this.
That's where it ends up.
You know, but her legal situation, you know, as you point out, she's making it worse. I mean, this probably is the best thing that could happen to her husband, to have her represent herself and just continue on this crazy rant in the court.
Right, and the judge will continue to look at that and say, you know what, this isn't a person that I want to, be on their side, and you'll constantly be in trouble.
She had Ralph Felder, the top divorce lawyer in the country, and he's no longer associated with the case for whatever reason.
For who can figure that out?
I don't know the reason. It's not disclosed.
If I'm her husband, I'm sitting there going, yep, keep it coming, keep it coming. It's all good.
Her true colors are coming out.
Yeah, she's speaking her truth, Jason. That's what she said. She's speaking her truth. All right. Stranger things have happened, I guess. Coming up, we're going to talk